Hey, a huge thanks to Susan for putting up this amazing event and that great introduction too. Well, hello everyone. My name is Michael Steinmetz. Can everyone hear me all right? Yes. Okay. My name is Michael Steinmetz, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEOs of Kana. And I'm here today to tell you three things. First, I want to start off and tell you a little bit about Kana and our story. Then second, I want to discuss the incredible opportunity that California has to really build a totally unique, different kind of cannabis industry, and even take that further into agriculture at large. And three, I want to talk a little bit about the capital markets, and especially kind of some of the irregularities that that's causing in our marketplace and in our industry. So to start off with Kana, simply speaking, we are a branded supply chain company, okay? We take a different approach than the traditional large-scale, big ag model, big farm model, where instead of growing our own cannabis, we partner with small farmers in the Emerald Triangle and only exclusively source sustainable, organic, and kind of zero carbon emission cannabis products. At a high level, we have two components to our business. We have kind of the flow distribution arm of things and the flow processing and manufacturing side of things. The flow distribution, very simple distribution company. We have 3 hubs across the state, in the Bay Area, in LA, and in San Diego. And in the flow processing and manufacturing side, we're headquartered in the heart of the Emerald Triangle in Mendocino. And we have 3 separate aggregation hubs strategically located in the Emerald Triangle where we source the product from the farmers, we intake it, we grade it, we sort it, we trim it, and then that product gets sent down to our main processing facility to get value add, processed, manufactured at scale. The main processing facility we have used to be home of the old Fetzer winery. So we bought the old abandoned winery from the Fetzers. That's about a 200,000 square feet facility. It used to be home of the 3rd largest winery in the US, and we are repurposing it to do a centralized cannabis campus that brings all of the pieces of the supply chain under one roof. So lab testing, distribution, manufacturing, packaging, all the services a small farmer needs to really give them the ability to scale and to compete with the larger forces coming at bay. We have the good fortune of being the #1 flower brand of the state, which is kind of not only a testament to kind of our hard work and our commitment to this industry, but rather a testament to the conscious consumers of California that are really voting with their wallets for brands that are more ecologically minded, environmentally minded, and sustainably focused to really build a different kind of industry, which we most definitely need to do. And I kind of always say we're at a very fragile state in the cannabis industry, a time where the fate of this industry and the livelihood of so many is really at stake. And California has the incredible opportunity to really build something radically different and radically amazing, something that I don't think even agriculture as a large has really seen. See, prohibition has been really devastating to mankind. It's cost the nation billions of dollars, it's destroyed communities, separated families, disproportionately affected minorities, just to name a few of the bad things. But in California, prohibition did leave us one gift. And that gift was that it gave us a totally fragmented supply chain of more than 53,000 cannabis farmers. And these cannabis farmers not only live totally off-grid lives with solar panels, rain catchment, totally fully diversified farms with carrots and cabbage and tomatoes and celeries and cucumbers. It's a beautiful and inspiring ecosystem. And not only is it beautiful and inspiring, but they're literally the largest supply chain of the world. These 53,000 cannabis farmers produce about 85% of the cannabis that's consumed nationwide. We are powering the black market of the nation from this state. And this is a very, very unique agricultural model that instead of having the traditional, the #1 and #2 players at the top that command 90, 95% of the market share, that whole market share of 85% is split among 53,000 cannabis farmers. And this beautiful gift and this incredible model of agriculture is at a great threat right now. And it's a threat to being lost by the wayside of the traditional big ag model. The same big ag model that has decimated our planet for decades and is the single largest contributor to all of the climate crisis we are exhibiting. Monocropping, which is a common practice in big ag to make it easy and simple and more efficient, has totally made us lose a lot of the biological diversity we have in the fruits and vegetables we consume today. Soy, for example, wheat and corn, we enjoy maybe one or two varietals in a universe of hundreds of varietals that we've already lost as mankind. Imagine if that happened to cannabis. And the loss of these worlds, these fertile soils, and the biodiversity pose a mortal threat to our future survival. We are literally killing ourselves with our food production models that we have on our planet today. See, modern agriculture has turned our food production into a business. And in order to win in business, you have to scale, you have to lower your cost, and you have to make more margin, right? So fundamentally, it's caused our food production to drive to use more chemicals and pesticides and cut corners and really, pay people lower wages and produce it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. I don't know why, but I feel like that's a fundamentally flawed model to really produce the food and products that we consume. And now we have an opportunity to do it in cannabis with our medicine. And why would we go down the same route to produce the cheapest possible cannabis? From our perspective, we want to produce the best possible cannabis. And this is the mission of Kana. See, we believe that the future of agriculture is small, fragmented, decentralized farmers working with centralization and technology to reach scale. And these are models that literally exist in our world today. For example, the largest taxi cab company in the world, Uber, doesn't own a single vehicle. The largest hotel chain in the world, Airbnb, doesn't own a single room. I believe that the largest supply chain of cannabis doesn't have to come from one source and one producer and one big ag farm. So as we look to build this new agricultural industry, why do we want to do more of the old? Let's learn from the past and let's build something different and imagine something new. After all, that's part of the pioneering and adventurous spirit that all Californians like us hold dear. So it's up to us, the operators, the distributors, the retailers, the manufacturer, the other cultivators to really work in synchrony and in harmony and use your dollars and use your time and use your resources to invest in the brands that are pushing the industry forward and are trying to build a better industry for all of us to enjoy. The opportunity is grand and the responsibility is even grander. And that responsibility is most evident when you go take a visit to Canada, our neighbors up north. And you understand a little bit of the industry that they are trying to build. And I'll tell you, it is the polar opposite of the industry that we have here in California. Canada contributes about 0 agricultural products to the world, yet they're building the biggest production facilities for cannabis in the world. So all of them have to be these massive indoor facilities. Because of the rules and the regulations, they've got to be GMP certified, they have to be ISO certified. They literally have to use full body suits to go in with a face mask, goggles, a hairnet, gloves, and booties. I literally felt like I was walking into a spaceship, yet instead I was walking into a farm. I couldn't help but think about my home in Mendocino and the farmers that we work with, and really think about the times where we are down in the ground and playing with the little worms and collecting the worm castings and getting real dirt underneath your fingernails, real live dirt to create real live high quality products. It's a very, very different industry. It's an industry not with farmers, but with lab coats. And there's not a single agricultural product in the world that's grown indoors. And I deeply feel that California must lead the way in building the cannabis industry that we deserve. I also learned that a lot of people out there are trying to wrap a story around empty jars and air, literally, and taking it public. These companies have no long-term value and no sustained kind of growth potential. They're not really thinking about the industry that we're building, not really thinking about the value you can create or how many communities you can empower and what good you can do to the world. It's simply wrapping a story around a public process and playing a little fictitious game on a computer screen around value. And why are people rushing to get an exit so quickly when we haven't even begun the regulatory process of this industry? And I'm not trying to dismiss the public process. After all, capital is an incredibly important component of raising building any business. And at Kana, we've raised probably as much capital as any of the bigger players here in California, and we will continue to raise capital, but not to build air, but to build a business of value, to build a difference that makes a difference to the communities that we work with, and to really bring more wholesome products to the California cannabis industry at large. And see, I grew up in Venezuela, in a third world country. And I learned really early on that countries grow at the pace that their capital markets grow, right? You need capital to give it to the entrepreneurs and the business owners to create more value, to create more jobs, to create more opportunities, and that's what helps economies develop. And like countries, industries are the same way. We need those capital markets, we need those investors, we need the Canadian public process, and we need it to build the industry that we really want to enjoy. Without them, it would be impossible for this industry to get off its feet. So, in kind of closing remarks and now opening up for questions, I think that as entrepreneurs in this room and a lot of business owners that I see and a lot of the cool brands that I see and a lot of responsible operators that I see, let's remember that this gift that we have to build our businesses is collectively building the industry together. And every single thing that we do and every single day that we spend and every resource and every dollar that we put into this industry is building the collective of the industry that over time and over decades will soon stabilize. But it's in its very nascent forms. And that's the gift that we have as entrepreneurs and business owners, right? It's a gift to take our dreams and bring them and manifest them into reality, to shape and mold humanity, to propel us forward, to build the dreams and the things that we want to see in the world. So let's not forget that gift and let's not forget that responsibility. And we must remember that in life, what's truly valuable is not what we get, but it's what we become. It's not what we get out of what we do that matters, but it's who we become in the process of getting what we want that truly is valuable. So what industry are we trying to become? What companies are we trying to become? And what is California's place in the grander market of the world? And with that said, I just want to thank Susan one more time because she's a very dear friend of mine and I'm a very big fan of this conference. And I'm happy to open it up for questions because I think I have more time to answer. I think, if that's allowed.
We've got a couple of minutes only. I also want to say that upstairs in the veranda, there is a workshop about to happen called How to Attract Investment in Your Canna Business, upstairs in the veranda. Okay, do we have any questions? Come on.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Jamie Padilla. I'm with United Farm Workers. It's the labor union of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez. I found your message really encouraging, and what excites me most about cannabis is the potential I see for the kind of overflow of innovation and positive change that can happen in agriculture overall. And I'm particularly interested in how you were talking about tapping into that positive consumer power to drive some of this change. And as you all think through that, I'm curious as to, when you talk about social responsibility and sustainability, the labor piece of that, right? And I did a lot of work in the coffee industry where there was so much focus on small farmers, folks forgot about the labor that went into coffee. And I'm concerned about that happening here, and I'm curious how you're factoring labor into your work on social responsibility.
Great. Can I just get you to summarize the first question again? How do I get consumers to choose the first and second question?
Your message, the messaging you're using to tap into that positive consumer power and getting folks to vote with their dollars and what's driving that.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for your question. So it's two parts. So one, she first asked about, what are we doing to kind of encourage positive consumers to kind of engage in these types of products and this type of industry? And two, talk about the forces of labor and how important that is to building an industry. More or less? Okay, so I'll start off with the second. Actually, we are one of the largest employers in Mendocino. So we've been working with the county of Mendocino and the CEO of the county very regularly. We've actually been talking to a couple of the labor unions as well, so I'd be curious to get your card as we kind of build this industry. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think agriculture as large has suffered from kind of improper treatment to small farmers, and they're marginalized the workers. I came from Venezuela, and I used to work with actually coffee cooperatives. I'm not sure exactly where your coffee cooperatives work. but it's much in the same way. And I think right now in cannabis, it's a different consciousness that these farmers have and a different culture that people live in Mendocino. And it's very much about that community, right? I think them at large, it's never been, maybe because the profits have been so large, it's never been about the bottom line. It's really been about how do they share this product with their farmers, with their neighbors, with the people that work at their farm. And I think that ethos, we have to preserve it and try to keep it forward as we keep on growing this industry. And secondly, addressing to the consumers in the cannabis market, it's a tough task, right? I think we live in a very, very noisy world, right? We live in the attention economy, right? Every brand is struggling to get the consumer's attention. And I really believe that the best marketing is a marketing that comes from the heart, that comes from talking about values. And that's really what we focused on. At Flow Kana, yes, we're like sustainable and we're organic and we tick all of those boxes of like the fact-driven kind of behavior patterns. But at the end of the day, consumers choose product because of an emotional connection, right? They'll pick up a brand, or they'll read an article, or they'll see a clipping, and they'll connect either emotionally with it or not to that brand. And I think that's kind of how we focused on building kind of our customer base, is always being true to what we believe and kind of wearing our values kind of on our sleeves.
Yeah. Michael, congratulations on your success. The industry needs more leadership like yours and more companies like Flow Kana. Can you help me understand, when you're dealing with that many supply outputs, how you maintain quality control?
That's a great question. It's a big challenge. So I would say that in our model, we don't have a large-scale farm, so we don't have all the work and all the investments required to get that off the ground. But on the flip side, we work with so many fragmented and separated farmers. So what we do have is a big farmer relations team. So the farmer relations team is working with the farmers to work on strain planning, strain mapping. So a lot of what we're seeing right now is that I think that industries naturally move towards consistency and standardization, and consumers at large look for that in a brand, that have the repeatable experience. So for us, we have to work very, very closely with our farmers. I mean, we have monthly meetings with them, we have quarterly retreats with them. We're always constantly reviewing what they're producing, what quality came out of it. We've developed a kind of a grading system internally at Flow Kana between AAA flower, AA flower, single A, and single B, which is the same grading system that happens in any other form of agriculture, whether you go into the citrus industry or the coffee or the cacao industry. There's a universal grading system. So we've built that over the last few years at Flow Kana, and then we kind of open sourced it to a lot of the co-ops in the region. So they've been able to give their input, they've been able to give their comments, and then we've then given that to kind of ICFA, which is the International Cannabis Farmers Association. And they've been, so they since then have been improved the grading system and have taken a kind of a life of itself, got input from the market, from the dispensary. So we're really trying to establish kind of standards in the industry that we can all work with. And these are the same standards that happen across all other industries. So I would say that kind of dealing with the supply is about, having a baseline understanding of how we talk about the product. The grading and the sorting is a key component. And I would say the second is just farmer relations and just being really constantly involved with the community and being very strategic. The challenge with cannabis is, you're already picking the strains today that you're planting in March that are going to be harvested next October. So you have to have so much planning and really have to predict what the market is going to want in the future. So it's a tough task, but it's one that we take on every day, really. Yeah. All right, guys, well, enjoy the rest of the conference.